Science fiction tabletop RPGs have always been a bit of a rough subject for me, because to me there's always way too much to get into. The rulebooks are always like this big, and there's a ton of information and lore and storytelling and world building, and I just end up putting the book down before even trying the system. Then there are a ton of sci-fi settings that use the rules of Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition in order to make it more grabbable for a person like me, but still there is way too much to read. It's overwhelming for a person like myself. But then Florian Emmerich comes with Eldritch Sands for 5th edition. Hi there, fellow roleplayers, my name is Mr. Trosk. Now, imagine yourself taking the Metroid video game series, taking the Warframe video game series, taking the Alien universe, the Predator universe, which is like basically the same thing, even slapping some Dune in there, putting this all into a blender, and you might end up with Eldritch Sands by Florian Emmerich, which is, for me, the perfect way of getting into sci-fi tabletop RPGs using the 5th edition D&D rule set. And there's a few reasons for that. So what I want to do today is talk about the physical book and just tell you what you actually get for your money, and then we'll take a look at the PDF and I will just show you a few things that I really like about it. So first things first, this thing is for sale on DriveThruRPG right now for about $15 for the PDF and about $25 for this book for the softcover flappy version of the book. By the way, there is a discount right now for when you take the PDF and the physical. You get like $10 off or something like that. Make sure to click the link in the description below. Now, what do you get? You get a book that has about, like, say 70 pages thick book with a very cool, very original sci-fi setting for 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons. Well, it is not Dungeons & Dragons, it is just the rule set of 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons, but it is its own system, and it's really original, and we'll talk about that in a bit. The book is really high quality, and I absolutely love the artwork. The artwork in here is just supreme. Florian Emmerich always does a very good job on creating like these beautiful bits of artwork that you just, they immediately take you into the world that he's trying to set. For example, one of my favorite adventures, if not my favorite one-shot adventure ever, is Shore of Dreams, and it's just the same thing. It is the same kind of purple is going on, and the same kind of really awesome artwork, and it just makes you feel what the writers have meant to make you feel while you are reading it. Now let's talk about what Eldritch Sands actually is. Now I'm going to simplify this for the sake of the video not being an hour long, and the writers are probably going to kill me or something, but I'm going to do it anyway. Eldritch Sands is a futuristic, post-apocalyptic setting. Basically, the world has turned to shit, and the people that lived on it were about to die because there were all these crazy eldritch storms, they call them, and everywhere everything was turning to crap, and the world was just uninhabitable. So it was really hard to live there, and people were dying, and creatures were turning into monstrous versions of those creatures and eating people, and all of the earth became wasteland, and it became pirates here and pillaging there, and all that stuff you know and love from the series, the post-apocalyptic movies you've been watching. Now, the people that tried to survive built a city-esque structure, basically a big dome they call the Oasis, which at first should have been like their safety thing, but it became this really gray, dark, gritty system where people, just like in Fifth Element a bit, like they get up, go to work, go back, get up, go to work, go back. Everything is just built around just the survivability of the human race. Now, outside of the Oasis is Earth, which is a big ass wasteland, and it's just super dangerous to go there. Like in Dune, there are these solar storms or eldritch storms or whatever. There are dangerous creatures out there. There are even like people out there that live there, that choose to live there, but there's like their living chances, their chances of survival aren't really high, but they still choose to live there. And in order to go out there and to go grab resources or whatever, the people need to fit in suits, kind of like they are suits all with their own different power. There's, for example, a rhino suit that gives you certain powers, and these suits are kind of like, they have a power. It's like an Eldritch power that you can use for these suits, but the more you use of that, the more you come kind of like addicted to it, and it kind of changes who you are. So there is this post-apocalyptic setting thing going on where everybody is dying and fighting each other, and there is this Eldritch force, which is like a newly discovered force, which in one hand is giving the humanity the power they need to run their city, but on the other hand is very dangerous if you get in contact with it too much. So that's also why it reminds me of the video game called Warframe, where you have to get in like a suit and you go onto a planet and you fight people and then you get out of the suit, and it's just like, it just reminds me of that, which is really, really cool. So there's There's way more much to it than that, but I just wanted to look into the PDF with you to like kind of show you what you get from spending your money on Eldritch Sands. So here it is, Eldritch Sands for 5th edition, and as you can see, the colors really pop, the artwork is beautiful, and the book really looks really nice. Really good job on that one. The table of contents, as you can see, there's all kinds of world building. At first, they want to talk about like the disaster, what kind of happened to the world, why it is really hard to live on the world, on the face of the earth. They talk about the oasis, and just look at this artwork. It's like really gritty, gives you like this alien vibe. To me, at least, it gives me like this alien vibe. The oasis is this dome-shaped, city-esque structure. They have, like, they talk about even like the factions within this dome and the streets and taverns and all of that stuff. So it's like how people talk to each other and how everything works, from the politics to like currencies and all that stuff, gossip and everything. So there's a lot of world building actually in this book for it to be only 70 pages thick. So 70 pages, if you hold it in your hands, it doesn't look like a really big book, but there's so much high quality world building in here. It's really, really crazy. So an overarching theme in Eldritch Sands is the word Eldritch. Like the Eldritch maelstroms are these kinds of like storms that rage all across the earth, and there is this Eldritch energy that the humans actually have discovered. They can use it to create energy, like make the lights burn and the computers work, but it's also really dangerous if you come into contact with it for too long, like kind of like radioactivity, right? So it is really cool that they have that overarching thing, and then they go into the character creation. And this is really cool because they have two kinds of characters, basically. It's really, you have your character inside a suit and you have your character outside a suit, and that's really cool. Outside a suit, you could be like the person who's really smart with computers or has like this pistol on their belt and so all that stuff, and you more function within the oasis. By the way, the oasis is a city in itself, so you can have adventures in the oasis and adventures out of the oasis altogether. So the setting actually has kind of like two different parts to it that have a really cool contrast to them, from like that city urban adventure sci-fi team to that post-apocalyptic team where the earth turned to shit, basically. So you can have like your Eldritch tags, which are weaponry. You can have your functions in your suit and everything. Not going too deep into this, but then there is the cool thing. There are these suits, which is really gives me Warframe vibes. There is, for example, the Imp suit. There is the Nightmare suit. There is the Owlbear suit, and there is the Sapphire suit, and there was a Unicorn suit. By the way, I said there was a Rhino suit, which is not true. It is a Unicorn suit. The Rhino suit is from Warframe. The Unicorn suit is from this book. And as you can see, this basically gives you, this is like your class in a sense. So your proficiency bonus is +2, you have kinetic barrier, Eldritch absorption, so you can absorb Eldritch energy. When a friendly creature within 60 feet of you would gain 1 or more levels of Eldritch influence, you can use your reaction to gain 1 level of Eldritch influence in their stead. So Eldritch influence is a system where the Eldritch energy like goes into your body or whatever and changes you sometimes for the positive. You might get stronger for a little bit, but in the long term for the negative. And this kind of reminds me to that old Star Wars RPG based on 3rd edition Dungeons and Dragons, where the dark side of the Force was at first really strong to use, but if you use it too much, you became really weak and you might lose hit points or you might explode in the end of the day or something like that. And all of these modules have their own weapons, they have their own playability. Like this one who was more like a weapon wielding fighter, barbarian type and all that stuff. And that's what I really like about this. You have all of these suits that you can pick for your character. So your character is a character outside of suit in the Oasis and everything, but when they have to go out of the Oasis into the wasteland, they need the suit in order to survive. And every time they use Eldritch energy, they can do really powerful special attacks with this Eldritch energy, but that gives them a higher chance of actually getting really infested with the same Eldritch energy. And if picking your character and its traits and then your suit and its traits isn't enough, you can pick feats. Well, actually, they are not really feats, they are suit modules. You can take modules at certain points and put them into your suit to like really customize your suit. Every time Eldritch Tech suit users learn to handle progressively more energy from their core, advanced operations utilize this expanded capacity by installing modules. So there's modules Evasion Protocols, Flight Booster, Juggernaut Blitz, Jump Jet. So for example, Evasion Protocols, when you take this module, you can choose one of the following effects. You can dash or disengage as a bonus action, your proficiency bonus and dexterity saving throws. Flight Booster, you gain a flying speed equal to your walking speed. So there's all kinds, and there's a few of these, right? There's like these 2 pages and then another page that's like Void Jammer and Striker Pistons. Increase your strength or constitution score by 1. So you can like really build like almost this steampunk type suit or like this really pew 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 type suit. So you can, the customizability of these things is really great and really well done. And just to give you an idea of this Eldritch influence you can gain by using your suit's powers. So your suit have powers, really strong powers, but you use them, you have to roll on this Eldritch influence kind of rolling table. It goes from faint whispers, you just hear whispers in your head, all the way up to core corruption, which basically you become a hostile NPC under the GM's control for 1 round, or even worse if you roll this result more times in a row. Now you can also get stuff like Terrified, you become frightened of one random ally for 1 minute, or Haunting Knowledge. So there's a bunch of levels to this, and the more you use your suit's powers, the more you can get corrupted, and the more you can get this Eldritch influence, which is really dangerous and game-changing. And I'm not covering everything from this book by large. There's way more. For example, there are the threats, they call them, which are basically like monsters, deep water spiders. There's this weird looking dragon-like creature, an eldritch dragon, by the way. All kinds of creatures and NPCs that you can use to pit against your players that fit into the setting. There are backgrounds, there's more storytelling, more world building. There's so much in this book that I cannot cover it in one video. Now, the single most important thing about Eldritch Sands is this: it is written in a way that is really easy and quick to understand. I read this thing cover to cover, almost every letter of the book, but after a half an hour or an hour or so, I already knew enough of the world. I was ready to build my own character and even run a freaking game in the world of Eldritch Sands, in the Oasis, in the Wastelands, and everything. So Florian Emmerich and his team really did a great job of creating this world and making it easy to grasp for people who are already familiar with the 5th edition rule set. So if you're interested in this, make sure to click the link in the description below, and until next video, bye-bye.